Hello, everyone, and welcome to At Barrons. I'm Andy Serwer, and welcome to our guest, José Muñoz, who is the COO of Hyundai Motors and also the CEO of Hyundai Motors and Genesis in North America. Nice to see you, José.
Nice to see you, Andy. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So a lot of people don't realize it, but Hyundai is actually the third biggest car company in the world now after VW and Toyota. Toyota number one, then VW, about 7 million units globally in terms of volume. And I'm wondering how things are going specifically in North America at this point. It looks like you had a pretty good quarter recently.
Well, indeed, it's a great question. So yes, we're very proud that we ended in 2022 becoming the third largest OEM as Hyundai Motor Group, which comprised Hyundai, Genesis, and Kia brands. This is really a real honor, and then we overtook two great global companies as well. So as you said, last year we did more than 7 million, and then I think as the supply improves, we should do even better. I've got to say, because I'm very proud to represent the North American region, the USA in particular, and the entire team, that North America and then the USA led the charge. And then thanks to the great performance in the USA, where the Hyundai Motor Group is also number 3 after Toyota and after GM. So we are the ones leading the global growth. So we actually had a fantastic March. March was an all-time record for the month of March, which led to an all-time Q1 record. So we had a 27% growth in March, fantastic. And then this helped achieve a 16% growth in Q1, so we're very happy, and then thinking that we can do even better in Q2.
What exactly was driving the growth in Q1 then?
Well, there are always several factors, right? So one of them is always the industry. The industry continues to grow at a lower pace based on the SAR calculations than January and February. But then in our particular case, the launch of great products during last year and actually this year, a good strategy, a good execution, great dealers, great advertising is helped us a lot, right? I was analyzing the numbers, and then we had a fantastic performance in our SUVs, and especially on electrified vehicles. We represent now about 17% of our sales coming from electrified vehicles, 1.3 points more than a year ago. And then also the battery EV vehicles, which are growing a little bit less than they used to grow last year before IRA, but it's still growing.
I want to get back to that IRA point because that's a kind of critical issue right now. But first, I wanted to ask you about the chip shortage. Has that been alleviated, turning the tide now?
Yes, it has. Still not perfect. I think our company did better than other companies during the pandemic with the chip shortage. I've mentioned a couple of times that we did well not canceling orders and then being more flexible than others in our manufacturing system, changing the production plans nearly every day, and then being very, very efficient in the operations, operating at a very, very low level of inventories, both centrally and dealers. But now, thankfully, situation is better. It's not perfect, but it's getting much, much better. I think the US has been impacted a little bit more than other regions because our cars are having a higher technology. They require a higher type of quality, if you like, or high-tech chips compared to other regions. And this has had an impact. But now we're getting much better.
Manufacturing here in the United States, you have a big facility in Alabama and one coming online in Georgia. Can you talk about those two places, please?
Yes, we are very proud of being extremely flexible and utilizing the maximum available capacity in our plant in Montgomery, Alabama. So not so many people know that we produce 6 different vehicles in the same plant for a total production capacity of about 400,000, including ICE models, hybrid models, and very recently added the first ever Genesis produced outside of Korea, and also the first EV produced in America ever, so the so-called GV70 EV. But I would say more importantly, we made big announcements last year about more than $10 billion investment in the United States, which was a commitment by our executive chair, Mr. Chung, before President Biden when he visited Korea back in May last year. So we are building basically 3 plants. One assembly plant for battery EV vehicles for Hyundai, Genesis, Ioniq, and also Kia brand products. And then a battery joint venture plant also in Savannah, and yet another battery joint venture plant in Bartow, all of them in Georgia. So we bring in more than 8,100 new jobs to Georgia, and probably about 400 more in Bartow. So we're really very proud of, and we are really working hard to try to be producing vehicles by January 2025.
Yeah, but that's what I don't understand. Then how come you're not covered under the IRA Act?
Yeah, we don't understand it either.
EVs that are produced in the United States will get a $7,500 credit, correct?
Yep.
And you guys aren't going to get that.
We actually don't fully understand because, as mentioned, back in May 2022, our executive chair, Mr. Chung, presented the investment plan before President Biden. And then he was really glad about the investment. And then he mentioned, we will let you down. So
we won't let you down.
Exactly. Then in August, we saw IRA, and then we realized our cars would not qualify, at least up until the moment we will start producing in America in this new plant. Even our GV70 EV would probably not qualify because you have to fulfill several rules. One is about assembly, but then you have the critical minerals and also the battery components. We've seen recently, as soon as last week, Treasury Department issue guidance, and then we still don't qualify. We've been asking proactively to get a waiver for not only for us, for any OEM who made a commitment, signed an MOU, in this case with the state of Georgia, of a significant investment, significantly earlier than IRA was published. But so far we haven't been successful. In any case, we doubled down on our investments, and then we've continued trying to ensure that the plant gets online on time. And we'll continue to try to get this to benefit our company as well. It's a huge difference, as you can imagine, $7,500.
And so just to be clear also, what you guys are asking for is to have the credit apply to imported EVs and to the EVs that you're currently making once they meet the standards, because you've committed to building the facilities in America.
Exactly. And that's all we are asking. It looks like a simple, especially considering that South Korea has a free trade agreement with the United States, which is not the case with other regions that are also trying to get the same benefits. We consider that within the free trade agreement, we should have that advantage and then being able to qualify.
Yeah, just another follow-up question on this. You mentioned there might be other automakers that might qualify along the same lines as you.
Other regions, probably automakers who are originally from other regions could be interested in also qualifying. So we just want to ensure that the rules are fair and they can apply to everybody.
And when do you expect those vehicles to roll off the line in Georgia then?
Well, the current plan is to get them running in January 2025.
Right.
We already had the announcement. We had the groundbreaking ceremony back in October. We are already erecting the building. The land is perfect. All the suppliers are investing. We're creating lots of jobs. I think the state is super happy. And so the JDA of Savannah and surroundings. So I think we are all in.
Do you anticipate only making EVs at some point, say 2030? Well,
in that plant, that's the plan.
Right.
So we are planning to build only EVs there. We have to remember that by 2030, at least 50% of our sales need to be battery EV. But also we are producing already battery EV cars in Montgomery. So we are transforming the original plant into also an EV plant. So the GV70 EV is already produced in America, and then is the first EV produced for Genesis as well.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, what are you anticipating in terms of the demand and what the business is going to look like, say, a decade from now? Everyone always asks, what percentage is going to be EV and what percentage is going to be internal combustion still?
Well, by 2030, we all have to comply with the law, right? So it's going to be minimum 50%. But it's fair to say that at the moment, even if, for example, gas prices are up, the trend of EV adoption is a little slower than that. So we applaud the fact that the US government is incentivizing the sales of battery EV. We think this is the right thing to do. And definitely we would like this to be a little bit wider so we all can take advantage of that. But by 2030, 50% should be the threshold. Now, let me remind you that in some states like California and other 7 states, by 2030, we need to be running at 68%. And by 2035, 100% EV.
Yeah, that's going to be a different world.
It will.
So you talked about Genesis and Kia. Can you elaborate a little bit on those brands and what they mean to American consumers, perhaps?
Well, I will elaborate on Genesis. I'm in charge of Hyundai and Genesis, not Kia. It's a separate company. It's part of the group, but a separate entity. So on Genesis is, I would call it the jewel of the Hyundai Motor Group. It is the luxury brand for the group. And then we put a lot of efforts to ensure we position the brand as a real luxury one, starting by the products. So we've been launching great sedans, but then lastly, the last couple of years, great SUVs, which have made a significant jump in terms of design, technology, quality, and then sales volume. So we've, in the last 3 years, we more than triple our sales. We almost every month achieve an all-time record. So we achieve again with the Genesis an all-time record Q1, an all-time record March. And then we are really very proud of that. But not only about the volume, but more importantly about the positioning of the brand. So the brand starts to compete head-to-head with German competitors, obviously Japanese competitors. And then one of the ultimate expressions of Genesis is being the investment we made in New York, in the meatpacking district, where we've opened what we call the Genesis House, so that anybody who wants to know a little bit more about Genesis can experience what a real Sonnim concept means. Sonnim is Korean hospitality. If you've ever been to Korea, you will realize they're really great people. Especially they love all the visitors, especially the Americans, and then they treat them so well. Well, we want the American consumer and the international consumer who visits New York to experience that. So we dedicated 3 stories to Genesis. We have the vehicles in display, but we don't sell them, just for you to experience and understand the product. We have underground a great facility for meetings with a 3D screens that have been utilized for the New York Fashion Week, etc. And then the most interesting for me is the second floor, where we have a restaurant, Onion, which is a luxury restaurant where you can experience the best food in Korea, but with local products. And then also the tea ceremony, and then the book ceremony, etc. A place to be there, to spend time with your friends, to see the nice location, etc.
Yeah, sounds kind of different. What about robotics? How does that fit into everything you're doing, besides the tea ceremony?
Well, that's great. We have, on top of the kind of a traditional business, our executive chair has a very clear forward vision about the future. And then we call all that MECA. mobility, electrification, connected vehicles, and autonomous driving. And as part of that strategy, there are different businesses which are being launched and developed. Robotics is part of the strategy. As you know, we took control a couple of years ago of Boston Dynamics. And then recently we've created, as soon as I think last summer, the Boston Dynamics AI Institute to talk and develop artificial intelligence. Well, we believe in robotics as a way to enhance the quality of life of people, which is part of our culture, to facilitate the jobs of those who are working in our plants. So our plants are more modern, state-of-the-art, and then we have created kind of exoskeletons where you are a worker and you need to get some weight. You can do it in a very easy manner, so you are comfortable, you can deliver a much better quality of the things that you're doing, etc. We're utilizing that technology as well for safety. So you want to have safety facilities, you can utilize a robot, so-called Spot, that applies the AI technology and then takes care of your buildings, facilities, without the need of having human beings around, spending the entire night taking care of the facility. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of different applications in the robots world.
Let's talk about you a little bit, Jose. You have a PhD in nuclear engineering and an MBA. How is that helpful to you in this business?
It is very helpful. I never thought I would use it for this, but it's very helpful. So basically, when you are almost a scientist, you have to really analyze the situations and analyze the problems and the opportunities to try to find countermeasures and develop plans. And believe it or not, our industry, it is even more complicated than nuclear physics, I would say, because it's unpredictable. There's so many variables that you have to consider, like the unemployment, the gas prices, the interest rates. There's so many factors. So it was almost by coincidence that I ended up working in this industry for more than 30 years. I love it, and definitely was very helpful for me.
Yeah, I understand that your wife sort of got you into the business, right?
That's right. She's the one who got me in. So now she cannot blame me when I have to spend so much time traveling and working.
And you're from Spain, from Madrid.
Yep.
You live in California now, in Southern California, and you're the COO of a Korean, albeit global, automaker. What is that like? What experience can you bring to the Korean board? And, one sometimes thinks the Korean companies are very insular. Do they listen to your perspective, and how does that fit into what's going on there?
Well, that's great. Yes, I was born in Spain, very proudly Spaniard. Also a U.S. citizen already for 2 years, and I'm also very, very proud to be a U.S. citizen. I lived in many, many countries, Belgium, France, UK, Mexico, Japan, China. I lived many years in Tennessee, now in California. I go to Korea every month. So one thing is for sure, after so many years of experience living in many places, you learn to be humble, because there is always someone who knows more than you. Also, you need to adjust very, very fast, because you are in environments where you are always the minority. And then if you want things done your way, you need to convince people that this is the best way. You cannot just get it done by telling people how to do things, because they all have their own background, experience, etc. Now, Hyundai is a very advanced, modern company. I think the executive chair, Mr. Chung, and also our CEO, Mr. Chung, they're very knowledgeable people, very experienced, and they definitely listen to what we got to say. Not only me, but the rest of the team with a lot of different backgrounds. So we have a lot of trips to Korea, but they also visit us very frequently. We get time to explain our points of view. And I think step by step, this is how the company has moved from being a big Korean chaebol into a huge multinational corporation. If you spend some time in Korea, you would realize, wow, is this a Korean company? It's like is like a Silicon Valley company. A lot of open space, very young people, very casual dress, good environment, good mood, very cool, you know. And I think our company, if you like, I don't see our company anymore as a traditional OEM. I think we are a high-tech company, which is getting and embracing a lot of modernity and new concepts.
So you got Madrid, Southern California, Seoul. Which sports teams do you root for?
This is a difficult question. I'm a Real Madrid supporter in soccer. You know, for 14 Champions Leagues, I think is a good score. So I suffer a lot when we lose, and also following on internet, etc. But for the most part, my team tends to win, so it's good. I'm also a big fan of LA Lakers. I really love them. Sometimes they're doing better than other times, but you know, now it looks like they're getting some momentum. LeBron is one of my idols, but Davis as well. So you know, many. I like a little bit baseball, and I like football. So you know, I try to be local. And then also in New York, I had one daughter who lived here for a number of years, and I enjoyed going to the Madison Square Garden and have time together. Sports is something that I believe in, because I believe that the competition, our business, is very much like sports. You need a good coach, you need good team members, you need them all aligned, you need to have a good fighting spirits and learn from your defeats.
And a global perspective too.
No doubts about it.
José Muñoz, COO of Hyundai Motor Company and CEO of Hyundai and Genesis in North America. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andy, for having me.
You've been watching At Barrons. I'm Andy Serwer. We'll see you next time.